Hey friends, it's me, the Ebony Otaku, and the well-rounded nerd. Um, this is another one of those inspirational nerd videos. So if you need inspirational nerd vibes, that's what we're doing in this impromptu midweek video. If that's not what you need right now, well then I have plenty of other videos on the channel about all kinds of nerdity. Um, this past weekend, my husband and I went to NashCon. And if you don't know what NashCon is, the Nash denotes Nashville, my hometown. But I left my hometown, the only city I've lived in, for my husband because he was that wonderful. That and the traffic is too much and it's too expensive, y'all. Like after moving, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, this is great. I love my life. And it's not far away, so I can always see my people. But we went to NashCon this past weekend, and NashCon is a primarily historical gaming convention. I had never been. Didn't even know it existed. And honestly, I just got over, no, I'm still getting over it, but in the process of recovering from surgery. And I didn't really know if I'd be able to go, but it's not that far a drive. And I needed to get out of the house. I've been in the house for like 9 straight days. Um, Plus, we were helping out a friend, our friends who run Lead Pursuit podcast, playing Blood Red Skies and Aeronautica, helping do demo games, helping with the tournaments, that kind of stuff. And, I didn't do as much as I may have had I not had, a hernia repair, but it was good to not be home. And honestly, the hotel was super comfy. And so I got a lot of good sleep. Like I would go do the game and then go to bed. And because it was a historical gaming convention, a lot of the attendees were our more senior and mature population, mostly gentlemen, a lot of retired military. So games, not just like Blood Red Skies, but I got introduced to a game called Aerodrome. Mark, you're the best game master ever. Sorry, Doug. But they don't sell that game anymore. But I do have pictures of all of the stuff you need. So I'm going to learn how to cut acrylic so I can make myself some aerodrome stands. But it's a World War II dogfighting game. I like the aerial games for some reason. I don't know why. I really like them. I like fiddly stuff, and it's real fiddly. Um, there was Bolt Action, a bunch of games I'd never heard of. There was an Age of Sigmar tournament. The Warhammer got to be there no matter where you are. There's going to be some Warhammer everywhere at a gaming convention. That took up like the majority of the main space, but it was a chill time. It was a relaxed gaming time, and I appreciated that. Like it was no pressure because I was hobbling around looking like you know death warmed over. People were really nice to me. I'd go down, do my thing, and then go back to the room and lay down. It was great. And I feel way better now than I did a week ago, and every day is better. So, yay. But the reason I'm making this nerdy encouragement video is there's something I keep hearing a lot of, and it's frustration, and a very specific frustration, and that is frustration with change. Why the thing that I love and have committed to has changed. And not even just in the gaming space, specifically in gaming. Y'all know I play the 30K. She's a Fulgrim apologist. Just sidebar real quick. I've hit my 5,000 subscribers. I am going to do the giveaway video. It's going to be a Fulgrim apology video. So you'll know when it's coming out. It's gonna be real obvious that that's a video to comment on to win something out of my collection back here. I've already got picked out and set aside and ready to go. So I'm looking forward to giving things away. The next big giveaway will probably be at 10,000 subscribers. And I think I want to do like a miniature painting beginner's kit to give away when I get to that level. But right now, something out of the collection. I got tons of stuff back there to give away too. So it'd be cool if we got there by Christmas, because then I could be giving stuff away for Christmas. I'm just saying, help a girl out. No, I'm joking. But I play 30K, and 30K just had a rule refresh, which, if you know anything about Warhammer in general, Games Workshop, Citadel, the whole thing, rule refreshes are a thing. What a rule refresh is there will be a set of how to play. This is what your army can do. This is the rules of fighting another army. Here are your special abilities. Here's what these troops can and cannot do. When you roll this, it means just the whole way, how to play, how to interact with other group, just the whole thing. And when there's a rule refresh, a couple of things can happen. One, it may make some troops that you have spent a long time perfecting obsolete to the current rules. That stings. Look at me. That stings because I know how long it takes to build these things and paint them and get them table ready. Table ready. Table ready. The other thing is that when there's a rule refresh, it could allow you to keep models that you have, but then change what they can and can't do and how many and how their attachments to each other work. So either way can cause consternation. That has just happened in 30K, and apparently it's been a while since there's been a rule refresh. 40K, Warhammer 40K, they refresh way more often, and they're kind of used to it, I think. The 30K crowd tends to be a more narrative loving crowd, although some 40K-ness is sneaking into 30K. I see you. But that, things change. That's why we're here. We're talking about change today. And a lot of people are consternated because, man, I spent so long learning this, building this. I am married to this, and you're changing it. Let's go a step deeper than just game rules changing. What about when there are significant changes in your workplace? Depending on where one is in their emotional intelligence, we may or may not adapt well to workplace change. Some of us work for small businesses or own them. Some of us are in service jobs. Some of us are corporate. There's a lot of different ways that we are making a living. I live in an area where there's a lot of farm country, a lot of farmers around here. Good for me, a lot of fresh produce and meats and whatnot. But it's hard work. It's hard work. Um, and things change. One of the orchards we like to go to pick peaches and apples every year as we get ready for holiday cooking. We just got to talking to the family, and they own 1,000 acres. 1,000 acres. Can you imagine? 1,000 acres. I barely know what to do with my front yard, and it's growing tomatoes. Still, I picked some last night to go in dinner. I did taco salad with chicken, but I went and picked the bell peppers and tomatoes out of my garden. That's kind of nice to just go pick fresh every day for dinner. Like sidebar, but that's great. Um, and they were telling us about all the changes in the farming industry and what they've done to keep up with it. And they were down to like the fifth or sixth generation owning this land. And the younger people were just so hyped. They're like, we're not losing our family land. They just keep adapting. They keep adding ways to make money. Think back even further. During the time in the world we shall not name, lest we be demonetized or slapped out of the algorithm. Um, but there was a lot of change that had to happen in that time. I remember seeing a video about a business that was a pizza shop up in New York. And when the you can't go outside thing happened, they converted their super hot pizza ovens from making pizzas. They were able to get their ovens to a certain temperature to make a very particular type of medical equipment that required those temperatures. So they shifted and changed. And now they're a pizza shop again. They adapted. Sometimes we get news from our employers that our services are no longer required for whatever reason, or there are changes that are far outside of what any of us can control. And there are downturns, and there's less freight, or you can't pay people what you'd like to pay them because you're barely keeping the lights on anyway. Or big decisions have to be made, budgets get cut, but we're all still expected to do all the work. That's just change. So, what do we do when we're encountering things that change? When we've gotten into that flow of life, that status quo, this is what I expect, this is what it's supposed to be. And to compare that Warhammer to the workplace, it seems insignificant, but these are things that are comfortable to us, like our favorite properties. You know what my favorite properties are. I love Warhammer as far as gaming is my favorite gaming property, but Sailor Moon and Transformers are my favorite pop culture properties. There's more back here and over there and over there and over there and all throughout the house, but those are what I love the most. They've evolved over the years. And I tell you what, you want to hack some people off, change their nostalgia. Let their nostalgia not be what they remember and they grew up with, as if they created it. Don't come for me. It's fine for the algorithm. But they did a reboot of Sailor Moon a few years back, and it was the Sailor Moon Crystal. And you can tell the animation they did in house and what they farmed out. Because welcome to how corporations work. Um, but a lot of people were upset because it just wasn't like the one that we grew up with in the 90s. No, it wasn't. Honestly, this one, when they redid it and did Crystal, it was closer to the manga than the original anime was. I didn't know what manga was when I watched Sailor Moon on TV back in the 90s. Um, I just knew that I liked Sailor Moon, and I found out what manga was like several years into it. And I was like, oh, and then I got the manga and I was like, this isn't the same story. It's like, this story's better in the book. But as someone who's always been literarily inclined, theatrically inclined, I understand that this media, written media, they're not the same mediums. So the way you tell a story is different and stories can evolve. We have to remember that art is a reflection of the time in which it's created. The 90s are not now. It's a different time period. And I think the reason they didn't go so far into the manga version of Sailor Moon when they did the original show was a lot of what was in the manga was very niche to where it physically was created. And a lot of times when those manga came over here, they had to change some stuff because it was like, "Ooh, what we let kids read and what they let kids read are not the same." And no tea, no shade, no judgment, just is. Different than does not mean better than or worse than. It just means different. That's it. So those differences had to be accounted for, even in the anime. There were things that were okay in Japan that America and England and other places took out. Very so already this wasn't what I was watching in the 90s wasn't the original story. It wasn't what was in the manga and it wasn't what was aired in Japan. They edited some things when they got it here. So when they redid and made Crystal, it's not even like I grew up with the original anyway. You see what I did there? But that's the version that is my comfort version. So shouldn't that be trapped in a bubble? Or Transformers, Gen 1. Y'all know I'm a Gen 1 and Gen 2 girly. There have been some modern properties I do like. I really did like the Transformers 1 movie. I think it did a good job of paying homage to the old while bringing in a new generation to understand the lore. I wish they were going to make a second one. It was so great. I was so looking forward to it. But y'all should have gone to see it. Maybe we can, convince them. But this is the version of the properties that I like. There are other versions, like y'all have heard me talk about Beast Wars. I'm not a Beast Wars girly. It's not for me. But I don't begrudge people loving Beast Wars because it's not for me. Just because it's not for me doesn't mean it isn't for you. Different than doesn't mean better than or worse than. It means different than. Right? Right. Things change. The version of Transformers that I got was in the big superhero era. So when they started coming out with like the Marvel and DC comics, if you go back and read a lot of those older versions of the comics, they're all about killing Hitler because that's what was going on in the world at the time. By the time they got to my generation, these kinds of stories were all about, I need someone to look up to. So it transferred from killing Hitler or, stopping a war in a country that we don't agree with being at war in to who am I going to look up to? And that's what a lot of these stories are like. Naoko Takeuchi is actually quoted saying that when she wrote Sailor Moon, she was at a very low point in her life and she wrote about girls that she wanted to be her friends and what each of them would be like. This is her story. This is her fantasy of what friendship looks like. So if she chooses to allow it to evolve with time, she's allowed to do that because it is her art. And we appreciate the artist for letting us peek into their world and be a part of their art. Thank you for your gift of giving us your art. But what does any of that have to do with change? These are not presented in 2025 the way I experienced them in 1995. They're different. The look is different. The animation is different. The types of stories being told are different. And for some, that can be uncomfortable. Like, are there movies and shows and music that you just go back to over and over? There is actually a psychological phenomenon attached to that when we watch things that bring us comfort. And when things that bring us comfort change, it can actually cause a little bit of rattling on the inside. It's like, oh, this uncomfortable. And that's what's really going on. It's not so much that there's something wrong with the new version, it's that it has dislodged me from my comfort. When things change in the workforce, because, I mean, real talk, most of us don't have as much control as we think we do. We can't control what others do, what's happening around us. We can only control how we react to it. And when those changes happen, it can be like, what do I do? My equilibrium is thrown off. What do I do? What do I do? When relationships changed, I thought this relationship was going to last forever. And then it changes. Or I thought this person was my forever. And you find out something. It's like, oh, that changes my entire point of view of you. Change. What I tell you in talking to some folks over this past weekend and really the past couple of months since rule changes are being announced and this, that, and the other, just how that's the scientific term people feel about changes in rules. And those feelings are not insignificant. What I'm not here to do is say, oh, well, you should just feel differently. No, feelings are valid. Your point of view is valid. You should feel your feelings. What matters, though, is what you do with your feelings. Because as someone who is newer to the tabletop gaming world, and also as someone who lives as an encourager, I'm in my encouragement area in life. I like to encourage people. I get to be a part of that next group that gets to set the tone for the next phase of gaming. Because the truth of the matter is, before you started playing this game, it had changed for someone else. And before they started playing, it had changed for someone else. And before they started, it had changed for someone else. And before that, it was an idea in someone's head before it grew legs and turned into what it is today. And at the end of the day, it's all made up. We made it up for fun. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. Several older gentlemen said that this weekend, and I appreciated it so much. They said, the whole point is to have fun. If you're not having fun, why are you even doing it? You're supposed to be having fun. Are you having fun? You're not? Ooh, if you're not having fun, go do something else. And don't bring down my good time. I'm not going to bring down your good time. Don't bring down my good time. All right, let's just have fun together and create the environment that we want. But how do we deal with change? So the last time I did a video like this, it was all about love. And I went to the Bible because she makes no secret that she is a Christian. So this is from which I get my moral grounding in the world and my center on how to be. So that's what I'm going to do again. But this time I'm going to go to the Old Testament. We're going way back. And we're going to Ecclesiastes chapter 3. I think you understand what's about to happen here. I think you know. I think you know. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. Shall we read? Yes, let us be inspired. So, Ecclesiastes chapter 3, and I'm reading from the New King James. By the way, she reads New King James and the English Standard Version. Sometimes I will read the New American Standard. Those are the versions I read, period. No others. Unless I'm researching old words and then I have to go like into Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic. Oh, she studied. She studied. Anywho, to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to gain and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. Here's why change is so hard. And I could have put in that is not proper English for somebody who majored in it. I could have placed this video behind the paywall, but I'm really keeping that for stuff that I'm using copyrighted properties to use as teaching tool. Well, everything I'm using is copyrighted, but stuff that's like, actual teaching material. That's why it's got to be behind the paywall. But the Bible open to everybody. So um I didn't choose to put this one behind the paywall, much like the love video, because it's one of those things that all of us need to consider. Change is inevitable. The only constant in life is that things will change. And I have to decide, what will I do in response to those changes? Some changes will be less impactful than others, but the truth is there are people who have built their entire identities and presence, their existence in the world around the communities that they have found identification in within some nerdy sphere. And again, we're well rounded nerds. That could be a racing nerd, a football nerd, college football. We like college football. I'm in the South. That could be a gardening nerd, a gaming nerd, a fashion nerd, a dance nerd. There's all kinds of nerds. But we find our community with people who are like us, who think like us, that help us find the best in ourselves, and we bring out the best in them. My Taekwondo group is a really good example. It is going through a season of change right now. Some people are into it, some aren't. But the only thing we can do is decide how we're going to react to it, because change is inevitable. My instructor is pushing 90. There's going to be a change, whether we like it or not. It is up to me to acknowledge that change will happen. And what am I going to do? Am I going to stop doing Taekwondo? No, but I'm working out a way to teach. I'm figuring that out. I have to. I have to, because I love this art so much. I love the sport. I love the art. I love the kiddos in Mexico. I love all the friends that we've made. I love teaching. So I got to figure it out. There's a time to be born, and there's a time to die. And it affects us sometimes. You know, when your identity is wrapped within your nerdity, whatever that chosen nerdity is, when there is a change, it's jarring because it feels like a part of us is being forced to be something we didn't want it to be. That's what it is. It's discomfort. But you know what's great about being uncomfortable? Being uncomfortable makes us move. And when we move, that's when we can look in a different direction and maybe find something new and beautiful to add to our lives. I'll get a little deeper here. So, my Taekwondo group is my mission group as well. And with my instructor being a man of a certain age, there's going to come a point where he just won't be with us anymore. And he is trying to figure out, how does this continue? I know that he wants it to continue the way he has planned it. But the fact that other humans will be here and he won't, that automatically is a change. And I can see it in him that he wants so much to basically clone himself and have everything after him continue the way he set it up. But he won't be here. So when that point happens, he doesn't get a say anymore. A few years ago, during the whole thing, my best friend passed away due to complications from the thing, and her daughter and grandson were living in town, and a lot of our friend group really wanted them to stay in town with us. And the thing was, she didn't leave the means for that to happen. And the person who was an adult, her daughter and her grandson, they ended up moving away to be closer to family, which was the right decision for them. And, they had a lot of change happen at a short time. So they went back to what was familiar, which is where the rest of their blood family was, which was the right decision. I helped them do that. I got a lot of flack from people who were like, "Why didn't you help them stay here?" I was like, first of all, y'all know how expensive the city is. You've been to one of these major metropolitan cities. Money, money, money. Second of all, no, not what she wanted. Once you're not here, you don't get to decide anymore. Much as I love my best friend, I would love to honor her wishes. She did not leave the means for that to be possible. So we had to make decisions. There are decisions that are beyond us that we don't get a say in. I don't get to tell a Fortune 2000, 1500, 550 company how they should manage their workforce. They have a way of doing that. And those changes can affect all of us, honestly, with some of the largest companies out there. I don't get a say. I don't get a say in how much a traffic ticket is. I don't get a say in that. I just do my best to avoid them. I don't get a say in when the sun comes up and sets. And that 2 weeks ago it wouldn't stop raining, and now we're at hell's front porch. What summer? I didn't get a say in that. That's beyond my control. Some of my seedlings are out there struggling right now, and I'll have to try again next year now that I've learned more. The seasons are going to change. People are going to come in and out of our lives. The stuff that we've grown up with that gave us comfort, it's going to change and refresh and be given to a new group, a new generation. Here's why I really want to encourage you to not look at change as a punishment, but as an opportunity. So they changed Sailor Moon. They changed it. And it's not the one I grew up with. But you know what? There's a whole new generation of people who never knew this property, who are getting to experience it. And because of that, there's more for me to collect. Woo! you know, I mean, the collection is not small. I'm obviously into it. And when I'm talking to young nerds who are into this kind of nerdity, it gives us a connection point where we can have bigger conversation, where we want to be in each other's space, where they will consider me someone they're willing to talk to because the young nerds need older nerds to talk to and look up to. So, yay, thank you for refreshing that property. Yeah, they refreshed the rules on something that I got used to, and it was supposed to be a certain way. And I'm frustrated because I spent all this time learning it this way. You have a choice now. You can choose to find other ways to enjoy that. I mean, one page rules was not going anywhere. You can choose one page rules. You can choose to find a group of people who still want to play the rule set you like and continue that way. You can choose to adapt to the new rules or bow out, but make your own choice. When things are done to us, it's jarring. Like that's one of the customer service things I used to have to teach a lot. When people call into customer service centers and something's happened that they're unaware of and they're angry, they're not angry at you or the ephemeral you that is answering the call. They're angry at the change and the lack of choice. It sucks to feel like you don't have a choice. Even if what ultimately happened was the correct thing to happen, to feel like there's no choice is what hurts. That I don't get a say. That's where my instructor is right now. It's like he's realizing that when he's not here anymore, he doesn't get a say in how any of this works. There's nothing that freaks humans out like not getting a say. But you know where you find peace? In realizing you never had a say to begin with. That's where peace lives. That's where contentment lives. And that the only thing in this world I have control over is me. I had some folks tell me, I ain't gonna name no names because they were in their feelings too. And guess what? You're allowed to have your feelings. Your feelings are not incorrect, and my feelings aren't hurt. We all were in it. They wanted to fulfill what they thought were my friend's wishes. Good on you for having that feeling. But she's not in control. I know that's what she wanted. She was very clear about it. But when you're not here and you don't make means, you don't get a say. I didn't create any of what's back here. I didn't have a say in the Transformers. That this was somebody's idea at one point, and they were able to sell their idea, get backing for their idea, and then turn it into a multi-billion-dollar property that I get to enjoy. I had no say in Sailor Moon. None. A young lady was lonely and wrote a story that ended up having an impact on several generations. And she is letting us share that art and that art be renewed and refreshed. G Dubs, I know we have feelings about the G Dubs, but that was somebody's idea that grew and grew and grew into what it is now. And I have a choice because I don't have to play Warhammer. There are two things in this life I gotta do. I gotta be black and I gotta die. That's all I have to do. It ain't nothing else that's a have to. Somebody's gonna get me in the comments for that. But I can't control what that company who has created a property that's becoming crazy popular to the point that Henry Cavill, our patron saint of nerdity out there in Hollywood, is filming a Warhammer show for Netflix right now. Don't y'all mess that up for me. That I got Space Marine too. Don't y'all mess this up. Don't mess Space Marines up for me. I don't have control over that. Those are decisions that I'm not in that boardroom. They're making decisions for their company to keep it alive. They look at the market trends, things and statistics that none of us are aware of. That's one thing I've learned about being corporate is when decisions are made, there's more going into that decision than you can ever imagine. And I don't want the top job. Nope, not for me. And I've worked for three massive companies in my lifetime. Four, I'm sorry, four. And what I've learned is I like me exactly where I am in the chain because I mean, I don't want to be, I don't, I mean, it'd be great to be praised for success, but I also don't want to get blamed for failure. You know, there's two sides of that coin. And I don't like the dark side of the coin. But G Dubs made decisions based on what they believe would be for the health of their company. And you also have to remember that much like, um, you're a little sad here. Don't get too sad with me. But there's a time for what and what in here. There's time for everything. They have to attract new generations of players. And that may mean tweaking things in a way that makes it palatable to another generation. Just like with this stuff. That's why properties that we don't think should be touched get refreshed and renewed. And we can't believe it made $1 billion at the box office because, oh my God, it was trash. Well, guess what? Art is a reflection of the time that it's in. And the generation it was made for may love it. Now, there are things that cross generations. I remember when we went to go see the Lord of the Rings trilogy in theaters, they re released the director's cut. We spent 12 hours at the movies that weekend, and it was great. But there were some little kids in there, an older brother and a younger brother. And the younger brother was so excited to be seeing this amazing set of movies with his big brother. There are things that cross generations, and this is how we have to look at these changes and the stuff that we love. Now I get to bring someone in fresh. Me as a new player with a refresh to the rules, because there's so much to learn, I feel like I get to start on an even playing field now because everybody else was so entrenched. Like it's like a reset. And I think that's part of the reason they do rule resets as well, is when they look at the communities and go, oh, get a little out of control here. Flip. And now we're all even again. Decide how you're going to react to the change. The only thing you can control in this great wide world is you. And that's where peace comes from. Peace is realizing that everything I love and hold dear, and I got a story there for you, and I'm not getting that deep outside the paywall, but that everything that I love and enjoy could be gone tomorrow. And if I'm still here and standing, what am I going to do? What am I going to be? How am I going to show up? Am I going to make new gamers miserable because what I love is different? Am I going to make people who just discovered a property hate it because it's not the same version that I'm used to? Am I going to make people feel guilty because they want to learn and grow I just can't be bothered? I can only speak from a place of I, and you can only speak from a place of you. But that's what we have to consider. Shall we return to Ecclesiastes? Oh, yes, we shall. Hmm. Ecclesiastes chapter 1. I love Ecclesiastes. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanity, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. What profit has a man from all his labor in which he toils under the sun? One generation passes away, and another generation comes. But the earth abides forever. The sun also rises and the sun goes down, and hastens to the place where it arose. The wind goes towards the south and turns around toward the north. The wind whirls about continually and comes again on its circuit. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. To place from which the rivers come, they return again. All things are full of labor. Man cannot express it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. That which has been is what will be. That which is done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which it may be said, see, this is new? It has already been in ancient times before us. There is no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of things that are to come by those who will come after. I don't care if this changes because this is a story that's been told 1,000 times in different ways. That's one of the benefits of being an English and theater major is I've read so many stories that I, from experience, know that creativity is not as creative as you think it is. There's no story that hasn't been told. There's no character arc that hasn't arced already. There's no thing that we love that hasn't existed. Is it modified for a different audience and generation? But one generation exists and will pass away, and a new generation will take over. That generation will think it's come up with something new, but it's still an idea from ages ago. I mean, once upon a time, we all rode horses to get everywhere, and now cars have horsepower. There's nothing new under the sun. There's no story that is so different, no way of doing that is so different that it will revolutionize. It feels revolutionary because it might be new to you or it might be new to me, but it's not new to the spinning globe. You know how many people have existed? You know how many stories have been told? Being an English major, I did several ancient literature courses, like old stuff. Why we always read the Odyssey and not the Iliad? It's the Iliad and the Odyssey. You need to go out there and read the Iliad too. A lot of the basis for how we write today is from the Iliad and the Odyssey, and the hero story comes from Don Quixote. Old stories. We can go back further than that, but I don't have time to. My brain hurts too much to do that. Everything changes. The way that you love something right now is the bane to somebody else's existence because that's not how they remember it. I always love it. Actually, I don't. I despise it when people put on a new generation. Oh my God, you do stuff so different. Well, yeah. Do you do things the way your parents did? Oh, no, you're not. Mm-mm. I bet your parents were mad at you when you were 15, just like my parents were mad at me. And their parents were mad at them in 15 because every new generation is going to show up in their own way. Is there anything new under the sun? No. But you are a new being on this planet. And when you encounter things that have already existed, you're going to interpret them based on the context of the world that you're in. And that's why art and the things we love change and evolve. That's why we as humans must learn to change and evolve. It's not about getting older, it's about staying curious and excited about what's new and what's different and being content with the fact that change is inevitable. I'm not in control, and I'm going to choose how I show up regardless of what changes around me. We went there today, didn't we? Can y'all tell she teaches for a living? I hope you enjoyed that and found it a little inspirational. I can't wait to see the comments on this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to get back to making member content later this week or next week. And I think I'm going to stream doing some Space Marine 2 this weekend sometime because this will be a midweek video. So that's a lot of videos in a week. But please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.